This is The Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. With your host, Tyson Gifford and William Rower. Episode 101, recorded March 30th, 2017. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. I am your host and the editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast. My name is Tyson, and joining me today, as always, is my co-host here on The Weekly Set, Will.
Hello.
So, today we are going to be talking about the Magicians, and we're going to be talking about Legion. So, because last week was our 100th podcast, and we had another topic of conversation going, this week we are going to be going over 2 episodes of the Magicians. We're also going to be going over 2 episodes of Legion. The season just ended. It had an 8-episode run, but we're going to be talking about episodes 2 and 3 as we slowly catch up through that series. I think we'll probably be caught up in a couple weeks because we're not going to be doing double duty on the Magicians after this.
No, I almost didn't do double duty on the Magicians, actually, because I did double duty on Legion, and because I had it all backwards. I thought I was supposed to be doing double duty on Legions and then 1 episode of the Magicians until like this morning when you sent me that text on Skype. I was like, oh.
Well, I'm glad you got both of those in because that gives us a little bit more to talk about. So that's going to be fun.
Yes.
We're going to kick things off by talking about the Magicians. So we are going to be talking about episodes 9 and 10. That brings us up to date. Episode 9, Lesser Evils. Episode 10, The Girl Who Told Time. Both of season 2, just in case you didn't know. In which case you probably shouldn't be listening because we're going to be going into spoilerific detail about these episodes.
Oh yeah.
Episode to episode. We're just going to kind of go over.
Anybody listening to this by now should know to expect spoilers.
Yeah.
So if you're new to TV Enthusiast podcast, this is heavy spoilers. We're going to go into detail about everything that happened in these episodes that we could possibly think of. No detail is going to be left.
Stuff that we just imagined too.
Yeah, stuff that we just imagined. No details can be left unspoken unless we somehow forget about it, which is always possible. But you're going to be thoroughly spoiled. So that's your warning for anybody new.
Yep. So we're going to be talking about these 2 episodes. We are not going to be talking about them individually, though. That's just kind of a pain in the ass. We're going to be just talking about the Magicians as far as like what we've seen since our last discussion.
We're going to try to discuss it as like one episode.
Yeah, 1 2-hour episode.
Yeah.
All right. So this episode, these episodes, I should say, had a lot to do with kind of resolving the conflict going on in Fillory. So first things first, Elliot basically challenges the king of his rival nation to combat to determine kind of basically who takes rule of the kingdom, knowing that he'll be able to use magic in this duel. Fortunately, things aren't necessarily going really well with magic in Fillory because of the wellspring. So there's some issues there, but Elliot has a nice magical sword that basically bestows upon him kind of the knowledge of all sword fighters, I guess, who've used it, or kings of Fillory or something.
Yeah. Basically, it gives him the abilities of a master swordsman. But
sword of Master Hacksaw.
God mode. But there's a catch because there have been a series of magical brownouts because of the wellspring. So even though he has this sword, this powerful magic, it's not reliable because a brownout could occur at any point during the fight and render it useless.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious when early on in the fight they're like clashing swords. Elliot seems to be kind of in the lead, and the other king just runs away.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious too. And then Margot was like, "It's over, right? It's over, right? Elliot wins because the other guy bitched out." He's like, "Nope."
So apparently that does not resolve the conflict or the fight, that basically the fight continues on. So he didn't retreat, run away. He was like strategically running away. So then Elliot has to kind of pursue him. They fight some more. They're kind of going back and forth. Elliot seems to have advantage. Happens. He ends up climbing up a tree.
Yep, because brownout happens, and he becomes powerless as predicted. And so, he tries to hide up a tree.
Meanwhile, Margot discussions with fairies as like a way of resolving the wellspring issues, of healing the wellspring. Kind of advised against it because they say that the fairies have like a high cost. What ends up happening is that fairies want a royal child, and they want the one that has already been conceived, that's in Elliot's wife's or in her belly right now. Right. And so Margot ends up kind of tricking Ian into agreeing to these terms. Like they basically saying, you do anything to help Elliot, right? You know, and like kind of tricks her into
anything.
Her child. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Without saying what that anything is, she tricks her into giving up her child.
And then the fairies just start acting uber creepy. They're like stalking around, kind of in the shadows constantly, bothering them. And Margot's feeling guilty about this because she just gave up her friend's child to try to save her friend's life.
Yeah.
And all of it ends up kind of being for naught anyways, because while Elliot's hiding from the king in the tree, he ends up finding out that the king's like bisexual.
Right.
And they're both kind of attracted to each other.
They're both attracted to each other, and I guess the rules in Fillory allow for a king to have a husband and a wife.
Yeah. So
they solve the fight by getting married.
Which is kind of like Margot's kind of upset by because it seemingly because it was because she had initiated the war, but really because now she's like, well, fuck, I just gave away your child for nothing. Now how am I going to deal with this shit?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Not really for nothing, because they did repair the wellspring, but
they did repair the wellspring, but which now they only get half of because Elliot made a deal to give the other half to the other kingdom, Fillory.
Yeah.
Fillory.
So they have this kind of deal between them now, and Elliot is going to be marrying this king. So it's going in. They're working now on their wedding preparation instead of battle, and Margot and the Elliot's queen keep getting kind of basically stalked by these fairies, driving Elliot's wife like crazy because she thinks she's like seeing things and stuff. But now Margot has to kind of face that she's done this, figure out what she can do about it.
Right.
And that's kind of like the driving conflict now in Fillory, because they resolve the war, and now it's, we have this marriage coming up, which, if you watch fantasy shows and a wedding's coming up, it's not always necessarily a great thing.
Well, they find out, Margot and Elliot find out that there's a conspiracy and that the Foo Fighters are planning something. I think Elliot
the Foo Fighters, yeah.
Elliot gives us a great line. He says like, I want the Foo Fighters to red my wedding.
So it ends up finding out that he brings a cook from Brakebills.
Yes.
Particular gastronomy like cook, but like magic wise, brings him to Fillory to kind of cater his wedding. As a result of kind of being in charge of the food, he discovers notes being passed to the prisoner that Elliot has, the Foo Fighter prisoner, passed in the nachos that he'd been treating him to. So Elliot feels betrayed because he's like, I gave him nachos. I introduced him to nachos. I thought we were becoming friends. And but apparently there's this conspiracy going on to try to take him out. Don't really kind of know what the conspiracy is. It might not even be that at all. It might be something else, but there is a conspiracy at foot related to the Foo Fighters. And it has to do with passing notes back and forth through nachos with the prisoner. So now that they're kind of trying to use that to weed out the rat by kind of not revealing that they know about it, and playing it out to see who they can catch on this and what's happening. So we have that going on. As you said, like Elliot's worried they're going to try to red his wedding. He obviously doesn't want that. Game of Thrones has taught us to always be wary of weddings.
Yes.
So yeah, something could happen here. So even though it seems like, oh, now the tension's all shifted over to these fairies, no, there's still like a tension because, something could happen related to this before it happens. It's still like a high tension area. And, so you have that, and then you have the issue with the fairies, which now Margot's going to have to deal with. I have a feeling that's, not going to go well and not going to make a lot of people happy.
No, I don't think it's going to go well at all. It was never going to go well. That's the thing.
So that's kind of like the Fillory story. So we have some other stories to talk about. Penny is working with Penny is working with Katie to try to kind of find Reynard still. He ends up taking that job in the library, a screw job. It gets called on him, kind of like he's like, oh, don't worry, it'll take forever. They take so long to get stuff through in this library that it'll be forever before I'm actually called into service. And then like boom, he's like called in like immediately.
Yeah, he's called in.
Good news, Penny. We expedited your paperwork. So Penny's like, fuck. So now he's working for the library. We're doing all that. He gets sent off on his first mission, which is to recover a book from a deaf magician, a BuzzFeed-like place.
Played by Marlee Matlin.
Yes, famous deaf actress.
Really great in this.
Yeah, it's kind of like a BuzzFeed-like company, like they do like top 10 cats that look like penguins or something. I don't
know. Just awful clickbait.
But it's actually like hiding magical secrets in those, which is funny because it's like, oh, so it's interesting that like they bring in these horrible clickbait things in a way that like represents them useful, which is that they're actually virally spreading magic.
Yeah, they're just virally spreading magic to whoever can go and read it.
So through that, Katie learns about the poison room, which is a room in the library that has information that basically how to kill a god, how to kill like Reynard. The library has all information. There's nothing they do not have. The lady at this BuzzFeed-like company tells Katie, says like they might have told you that they have nothing, but they do. There's nothing they don't have. Penny ends up like, because of the returning the book, Penny ends up witnessing one of the staff members of the library basically coming under control of like a curse in the book.
Yeah, a curse in the book takes control of him and forces
he's basically trying to get into the poison room to grab something for this woman. And in order to stop himself, he kills himself.
Right, yeah. There's a kill switch.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. What the fuck? That's what Penny's thinking. Penny can't believe what he just witnessed.
Then the poison room is kind of explained in detail, saying that, they hide stuff like that because there are things in there that could like undo existence.
It's very, very powerful magic, apparently, that they don't want.
Yeah, and they don't want anybody touching it. So that's like put us, that's the poison room. And so we know now about that. So now we know that this is going to be a new thing. We have this new faction because we have this BuzzFeed company and what they're trying to do with magic and what they're trying to get out of the poison room. Idea now that the library has this power that they're hiding that is massive and could end up becoming like a huge threat.
Right.
Meanwhile, we got to meet Reynard's kid.
U.S. Senator. Well,
yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting because in the poison room, there's apparently a book on how to kill God, and they haven't been able to find any information pertaining how to do that or any successful stories on how to kill a god up to this point. But apparently that knowledge is in the poison room.
Yeah. It's just a matter of, it's one of many incredibly dangerous things there. Probably one of the lesser dangerous things there.
Lesser dangerous things there. But yeah, we meet Reynard's son finally. reality. He is a U.S. senator. Seems like a normal guy, except people really hang on every word he says.
He's like subconsciously using magic.
Yes.
They talk about him like dripping with power, just like there's just power like pouring off of him. He doesn't even know he's using it or how to use it. It's just coming off of him.
Right. It's just coming off of him. He has no knowledge of it whatsoever.
So by finding him, they end up leading Reynard to him. They kind of secure him in Brakebills, but Reynard like breaks through their security, is walking on the school. The school is panicking. It's like the time the Beast was on the campus. Everyone's flipping out because you have this malevolent god like basically walking right onto their campus through their protections. They're trying to like now secure this. Julia, without her shade, basically throws Quentin to the wolves.
Yeah, pretty much.
Tries to basically force Quentin to be in a situation where he'll release Alice. Of releasing it, she'll kill Reynard because, you know, obviously she's immensely powerful as like a Niffin.
Right. As a Niffin,
she just toyed with and murdered the Beast like it was nothing. So when she was in her Niffin form. So Alice was already really smart, but now with like Niffin power, she's just like insane.
Right. Niffin Alice is smart and insane. But Quentin won't let her out, even to save his own life from Reynard.
He won't kill her because he loves her, and he won't let her go because he knows that that's just bad. Like that just means bad things. Alice keeps trying to assure him that she doesn't want, you know, a killing spree or do anything crazy like that. She just wants to be free. That's all she wants.
Right.
And
Quentin doesn't feel like he can trust her on that.
Struggling. He's basically falling apart from the inside because of her being in there too. Mm-hmm. So it's like killing him, but he's like kind of in this hard position. He does not give in. He does not kill Reynard. It ends up coming down to the senator basically agreeing to go with him. And okay, so now Reynard's like with his son.
Right.
Seemingly lost. They led him to his son, and now they've lost that battle. So he's now gone there. So now we have like kind of the consequences going on about Julia basically setting up to, you know, putting him in the face of death in order to try to achieve her goals. And it's interesting because we get to the point where she's talking about being without a shade and how she knows what she did was wrong, but she doesn't feel anything about it.
Right. She doesn't feel anything, but she knows she's wrong. And the interesting thing is she's trying to atone for it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like she just reminds herself that what she did was wrong, even though she doesn't feel it.
Meanwhile, mopey Quentin takes some drugs to feel a little bit better, some magical drugs, ends up basically in another like world, another reality, and encounters Julia's shade, which is basically in the form of her as a child.
Right.
So now he knows her shade's not gone. It's just missing. It's somewhere out there. They just need to try to find it. Talking to the Dean of Brakebills, and he reveals that he knows somebody who had done tons of research into shade. And we end up finding out that person was actually Alice in a different reality in which everybody but her died in the attack from the Beast.
Right.
Kind of went crazy, and she's, you know, just completely lost her mind and just became obsessed with like studying the shade and trying to like see if she could. And because basically the story went that the Beast didn't just kill Quentin, he like tore his shade to pieces and just obliterated him as a being rather than just killing it in her reality. So she became obsessed with this, and it just kind of became her whole life. They set up a meeting with Quentin and her that was really emotional because kind of Alice that's like horrified that she never got to like make up with Quentin before he died.
Right.
The event.
Yeah.
So she feels
that was kind of a touching scene because you had like alternate reality Alice from a reality where instead of Alice turning into a Nifflin and kind of niffling out, we have a reality where Alice survived the encounter, but Quentin got killed by the Beast. And so we got to see what would happen to Alice in that situation, where she would...
And she just became a complete mess.
she would become a complete mess, running herself crazy, trying to find a way to bring Quentin back.
So it's touching, it's sad because she can't touch him, and immediately she tries to touch him, and he's like, no, you can't touch me because this magic we're using, it's too dangerous. But they kind of get their kind of farewell, and she kind of gives him like his first to recovering Julia's shade.
Yes.
What she can give him, which isn't a lot, but it's like the first kind of step towards
fully restoring her shade.
We do see a scene where it was interesting the way they intercut between the Dean and Julia, where we see like a scene from when Brakebills, because the Dean remembers all this. He has all the memories of all these different iterations of their lives that they went through.
Right.
And so he was basically very close to Julia in most of the iterations, except this one where she didn't go to Brakebills. They're like kind of in the same school of magic, basically. You have, the physical kids, and then you have the psychics, and you have the other things, and then you have, I forgot what they were, but they're like a different kind of magician that kind of like discovers magic. And they're both from this kind of school of magic, so they have this great like student-teacher kind of relationship in this existence, but now there's like this whole other existence where that isn't the case.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Where Julia didn't go to Brakebills.
Yeah, so there's
this bond now between them, so it's interesting.
It's interesting because Julia says, "You don't know me," and he says something like, "I've known you 34 times over," or something, because of the time loop.
Yeah. And she was the one that he was closest to. So in those time loops, besides the one where she didn't go to Brakebills.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to think, what else is there to discuss from these episodes?
Those were the three major plot lines, right?
They did find like a book at the end of the episode.
They did, yep.
I saw this episode like 2 weeks ago, so I'm trying to...
Well, no, they didn't find a book, but they discovered that the book exists because they went back to that BuzzFeed place and they found a note that had the name.
Oh, no, I mean like Quentin and Julia found the book.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Quentin and Julia found the book, yeah.
They found a book with like a dragon in it.
That's right. They said that's the dragon, that's the ancient one, or that's an ancient one.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where
they
left off.
That's kind of like the last thing. So we had Fillory, now we have dragons.
Yeah, we have dragon.
There be dragon.
Because there has to be dragons. But yeah, that was the capping to that episode.
Yeah, that pretty much covers the magicians, I believe.
I believe it does. Oh yeah.
So next up, we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 2, and Season 1, Episode 3 of Legion, the series from Fargo creator Noah Hawley, that's based on an X-Men connected comic book character. So
we're kind of the X-Men universe, but
yeah, we don't know how tied this is to the movie universe. It seems like this one isn't. There's another X-Men series that is to the X-Men movie universe that's coming later, but this one doesn't seem to be, or at least it's very loosely connected.
Right.
In the comics is deeply connected to the X-Men universe because he is in the comics. Spoiler for that, he is the child of Charles Xavier himself.
Right.
We don't even know if this is going to be the same in the series, or what they're going to change, if it's going to connect the movies, if it's not. Like we have no idea.
Right.
What we do know is that he's kind of been living in this asylum, and he's broken out of the asylum at the end of the first episode. Second episode starts, he is now, I don't know, almost like hippie commune-esque. It's almost like Dharma Initiative.
Oh yeah, definitely like reminds me of the Dharma Initiative.
It's like a bunch of like hippie mutants, basically, commune, where they do research and try to protect each other from the evil government agencies that help them.
Yeah.
So we get to meet some more. We get to meet some more mutants on that side. We saw the ones that helped him escape, but now we get to meet some more. He encounters one that can go into dreams. being part of the second episode.
It's not dreams, but it's memory.
Yes, that's it. It's like a dream when they're in it.
Yeah, it's like a dream. Because, well, what are dreams except, well, they're not memories, but they're just images conjured by your mind. But so it's a memory, really.
It's just like your subconscious mind ruffling through your memories, basically. And putting weird stuff together. Making weird neural pathways that make no sense. So that's kind of what's happening in the second episode. They're just kind of going through David's memory. You're kind of learning a bit about him and his childhood. You kind of see the sinister, the child who's always angry or whatever. That's this book that's being read to him.
The angriest boy in the world.
That's it. The angriest boy in the world. And this book that's being read to him. You see more of this, and then with the yellow eyes and the red or whatever that you always see in the red light. And how he's kind of throughout David's mind, in every corner, like we'd seen in the first episode. But so we're kind of exploring his childhood and the things that kind of
Legion and what makes him tick. What they're trying to do with him is they're trying to figure out the trigger for his powers, trying to teach him how to control his powers, his abilities, basically realize that it's not schizophrenia it has. These are his powers. He needs to control them. They're just trying to figure out what they can about them and how they can achieve that. And that's why they're going through his memories, doing what they call memory work and doing all this with him. In the meantime, they
kind of do things in two shifts. They do a therapy where they talk, and then they do the memory work where they actually go into his mind, explore.
Meanwhile, the evil government organization has Elliot's sister, not Elliot, goddamn.
David.
I'm getting my shows mixed up. That's how. The evil organization has David's sister, and David, through his abilities, determines that this is the case, and this kind of makes things more desperate because now David isn't just comfortably trying to learn his powers with these new group. Now he's desperate. He wants to save his sister, but they're like, no, just stay back and develop your powers. They're trying to convince him.
Yeah, they're scared of this organization. They don't want to take him on until David kind of is more stable and understands how to use his abilities. It's in a rush. He wants to go now and get his sister out of there. He's kind of seeing her being captured and appearing kind of to not just his sister, but to the people captured for brief seconds before it kind of just fades it out back into the ether.
Oh yeah.
Right. The way they present that. So I need you to kind of guide the conversation a little bit from here because I've actually seen the whole series and I don't want to spoil anything.
Oh, that's right. You were way ahead on Legion, right?
Yeah, it's 8 episodes in the season. But I need you to guide me through so I don't spoil.
No, you've been doing a good job so far. It's so hard because, I watched two episodes basically back to back, one after the other. Mm-hmm. And I did this yesterday. And the problem is the way the show is set up, it's so esoteric and it jumps around so much that watching 2 episodes back to back, in my head, I can't quite make out.
Oh, you don't need to separate them. You just need to guide what else.
I don't know, the order of events even,
Because I'm afraid to bring up certain events because I'm I'm not sure if they've happened yet for you. I'm I don't want to say something that's not.
So I know, here's what I remember. So I know they were going through David's memories. They found David and his friend, I think her name is Lenny.
Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey Plaza. They find, there's a significant moment where she sells a stove for drugs, a stove that she most assuredly stolen from another woman. Mm-hmm. She sells a stove
from David's girlfriend, right? His old girlfriend.
I don't know if she stole the stove from his old girlfriend. She kind of very crudely says she got it from this girl she finger banged. She kind of that's the way she puts it. But the fact that she's got the stove and she takes it to this drug dealer and sells it to him for drugs. It's this blue liquid that they turn. It's vapor. Basically, they're vaping. She's got this frog thing with a pipe and the vape comes out and they're kind of getting high off of it. And then while they're getting high, she suggests to David that David robbed from his therapist. This turns out to be a significant sticking point in his memories because we learn later that the fight David has with his girlfriend earlier that leads to the psychic event in the kitchen with everything flying around. We see that was actually a result of him and Lenny getting high off of that scene, because while they're high, his girlfriend at the time comes home and finds them. Lenny steals her cake, and that leads to the argument and the incident in the kitchen. There's also, and we also get the sense that while they don't believe David is crazy and that all the schizophrenia is really David's power or something, we still kind of have to wonder if David is crazy or not, because he sees things that even the people invading his memories or manipulating his memories to dig out everything about him cannot see. He sees this yellow-eyed monster, it's very stylized. And then we learn when David was a child, David saw a personification of the angriest boy in the world. What that means, what that is, why only David can see it or sense that it exists. If it does exist, it's not explained.
First episode, they posed that is this psychic ability or is this insanity?
Right.
And now they're starting to kind of pose the idea: is it both?
Right. Is it both? Is it insanity?
They don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Yeah. Is the ability the cause of insanity, or is the insanity the cause of the ability?
Yeah. So there's a lot going on with that now. So even though David seems a bit more focused now that he's accepting his ability, there's still like a lot of uncertainty to him. There's still a lot of kind of questionable him.
there's a scene where they put David into a machine. They inject him with something that will color his blood or something, so they can track something inside of him while they're doing this. And they go through it, and then in the middle of it, David has an episode, and he basically he's going through an MRI. I think it was what it is, and he has an episode, and the MRI ends up in the backyard or something outside the building, and then he's just in the room where he was with no MRI.
Yeah, he's like teleported this thing away, which is now kind of shocking people because they kind of pegged him as the psychic, and now he's displaying other abilities, beyond
just beyond being a simple psychic.
Yeah, so not only is he a psychic, not only is he immensely powerful, but there's more going on too. It's he's tapping into all sorts of abilities, and they don't know what the limit to it is or what's going on. So there's kind of this weird mix of creation where they need to develop him, they need to train him, they need to get him accustomed to his abilities, and they're trying desperately to protect him. And on the other hand, they're terrified of him. Immensely powerful.
Yeah, he's immensely powerful.
In the comics, he's what they call an Omega level mutant, which means basically, in the Marvel universe, it's just extremely powerful. It's called an Omega level threat, or so that's on the same level as the Dark Phoenix, from X-Men, or Thanos, from
yeah.
He's so when we talk about him being this huge threat, he's not just this psychic, in the same way that Professor Xavier is. He's way beyond that. He's in the comics, at least, he's this massive threat, or labeled as a massive threat. Whether he is or not is dependent on what he chooses to do with it. But this insane amount of power, and we're starting to kind of get to that where everyone's coming to grips with how powerful he might be, and protect him. They're also terrified of him. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic that he has with his group.
Right. Yeah, there's this interesting dynamic. Towards the end, they make this effort to really get in. Basically, towards the end, they try to find some kind of trigger for his power. So they go into his head. They go back to his childhood, back to that story about the angriest boy in the world. basically they get stuck in there. The guy that they have who manipulates memories, he manages to get himself out of David's head, but then the woman who's running the place and David are still stuck there. I forget the woman's name who's running the place.
Melanie, I think.
Melanie finds the book. She opens it. It's a very tense scene because then as she reads it, we get the presence of this demon, this angriest boy in the world or something behind her, and then the book closes very violently on her hand. It deforms her hand, and she's kind of freaking out, and then the guy, the memory manipulator, manages to wake her up, but David's still stuck in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they wake David up. I think the episodes, that's the ending of those 2 episodes.
There's a lot of time spent in the series in David's memories and in his, like, you know, in his mind and stuff. So I can't recall exactly what happened in those 2 episodes because it all kind of runs together. Not in a bad way, but like a big movie.
Movie. Yeah, it's not a bad way. David manages, with his girlfriend, he manages to go to where his sister's being held, not physically, but kind of like their spirits, and they have like no effect or can't do anything about it in that form.
Mm-hmm.
But David knows where she is. He wants to go get her right away. The argument is that he's not powerful enough. He doesn't have the grasp on his powers he needs to do it. But you know, he's kind of figuring, screw it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, he's sick of waiting.
I think that's the major plots forward are, you know, that's the plot point, and they keep talking about the war, this war that they need, that David's going to be very useful for, you know. I think
between like this government organization and this group of mutants.
Yes.
It's still interesting how cagey they are about the time the time setting of this series, because it feels very 70s, but then there's like occasionally these little things that are like, oh, that's way too modern.
Right, exactly.
Hey, this is in the 70s, you know? But then like everything kind of has this like 70s kind of aesthetic going on, and that plays in with the whole kind of like unreliable narrator aspect where you don't know how things are being colored, you know?
Right, exactly. You don't know.
So what are you thinking of the series so far? So you're 3 episodes in, you're a little bit less than halfway through.
I'm liking it. Despite how it's set up, it's surprisingly easy to watch. I watched.
The episodes are long too. I mean, some of them are running well over.
Yeah, but it's like
an hour.
Oh my god! It's like, okay, so I was watching the first episode I watched the other day, which would be episode 2. I was watching that, and I felt like when it was over, I felt like that wasn't very long, or you know, or I didn't feel exhausted by it, or you know,
unlike Iron Fist.
Unlike Iron Fist, yeah. I felt like I could sit there and watch it, and it was very pleasant viewing, even though like it's all confusing as shit. But like it's hard to explain really, but I just think it's down to quality. It's really down to quality. The actors are good in their roles. You know, the actor they got playing David, Legion, was very good in that role as being, you know, even if he is mentally ill, probably the most powerful mutant on the planet, he also comes across as a very down to earth,
likable guy, yeah.
Very likable person, you know, very sane when he's lucid, you know.
Very sane when he's sane.
Yeah, very sane when he's sane. And then so he does a great job of that. The other actors are good in their roles. You know, the acting's on point.
I gotta note, like, you haven't seen that far with it yet, but Aubrey Plaza is great in the series.
Yeah.
As it goes along, she's just kind of crazy.
Well, she's kind of crazy. I'm still wondering if she was actually real or a figment of his imagination.
So much going on with it to lead you in one direction or the other. So many like red herrings and stuff, like going both ways.
My current theory is that Aubrey Plaza's character is a figment of David's imagination, or that she never really existed.
I'll say either way.
Okay.
I will just agree that it's very ambiguous.
I guess that's just based off the fact that she continues to appear. Like, oh, I totally forgot about it. But there was like a scene where they're running experiments on David, and then she appears to him, and she's like, they're holding your sister, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, I know, and she kind of eggs him on, and she's like, do you think these people give a fuck about you? And she's egging him on to action.
The only thing I'll say is that there's a lot of exposition coming. So, even now, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know what's the reality of it,
right.
in the first season. But there's also a lot that you do have like concrete answers for by the end of the first season.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, at least.
That's what I'll say. And I will agree that the series is incredibly ambiguous with like making you guess, like, are they real? Are they not? Who's real? Who's not? Like,
that's what makes this hard to discuss. Like I said, this is probably, discussion-wise, this is probably the most difficult show we've ever had to discuss on this, just because a lot of shows these days, it's been a trend, likes to play with your expectations, likes to play with what's reality, what's not. Mr. Robot does it.
Hannibal did it.
Westworld attempted to do it.
Westworld just became kind of predictable, but it did it pretty good in certain spots too.
It did pretty good in certain spots, but never to this degree. Never to the degree of there were always in the other shows. There's always plenty of moments, plenty of things where things run linearly, and you can tell that that is reality, and that's what's happening. Even with Hannibal, I think Hannibal, it was pretty clear what was fantasy and what wasn't. Like they kind of ran a clear distinction there.
Mm-hmm. Mostly for the audience. The characters weren't sure.
The characters weren't sure, but yeah, mostly for the audience sake, they did. I don't know if that was because NBC kind of dictated that. I don't know if maybe Brian Fuller wanted to go more eosteric, and NBC kind of like said, this is way too confusing. But Noah Hawley is like, this is full in.
FX, which is the channel this is on, is known for basically giving full creative freedom to showrunners.
It's like they put you in a dryer and they turn it on, and they just let everything jumble around, and you're just there for the ride, because you go here, you go there, you don't know what's the present, what's the past, what's happening, what's not happening. There's not much hints as to what is actually happening. Even the stuff that you assume is real and happening, like even the stuff with the mutant crusaders and everything, and them trying to teach him how to unlock his powers and stuff, that could also not be real. You don't know. Yeah. Like there's no way to know. Because I guess in a big way you're seeing this through Legion's eyes, through David's eyes, and he is probably the most unreliable narrator of all time. So he's not a literal unreliable narrator in the way like Elliot was in Mr. Robot. No, not Elliot.
Where he's literally narrating to you.
He's not literally narrating to you. You're not.
But he is incredibly unreliable, like even more so than Elliot, I think.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Of all the shows that are like that, and this is a recent trend that I'm very happy about because I like this stuff a lot. It sounds like we're almost complaining when we talk about how confusing it is. At least
it's not, because it's not.
I like that.
Because amazingly enough, it's not frustrating. It's interesting.
Yeah.
There's this fine line. Intriguing. There's this fine line between all this being intriguing and interesting and all this being frustrating and and I feel oftentimes Mr. Robot crosses the line into just being frustrating and manipulative, but this doesn't feel that way so far. Mm-hmm. You don't feel manipulated. It's just interesting. It's fascinating, especially if you go into it think of it as like, say, like a mental examination of like this guy's mental state, and don't try to focus so much on the narrative, then I think you'll get more out of it, because you'll be like, because I think first and foremost, this is a character study more than anything else.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. You have to kind of just open your mind and take it all in.
Yes.
It's kind of like how this works, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't try to understand it. Know that you'll eventually will. Just keep letting it come in.
Let
the data calculate.
I think that's why I'm not frustrated, is because I kind of surrendered my faith to the show, that the show will explain everything to me eventually, and I don't need to understand it right now, just as long as I eventually understand it. And I think I've given my faith over to the show, so that if the show does betray that faith at any point, then I will get upset. Then I will get frustrated. But not yet.
I'm eager to see what you think as the season goes on, because in the later half of the season, there's, because there has to be, there's a lot of exposition. I actually really liked it, but I could see how it might annoy people, because some people get annoyed when there's a lot of exposition.
Right.
But I like the way it was done, and I'm really curious to see how you react to it.
It's the way it's presented, right? If somebody's there just telling you everything, then yeah, that's lame. If, like, it's always lame when a character just sits there and tells you everything, like, oh, and this happened, and this is why we gotta do this, and this is just like a bunch of dialogue explaining stuff we could be showing you.
I'm eager to see your reaction to the later episodes, where we are going to cut it off for this week. We'll be talking about more Legion and more Magicians next week, but
definitely
we're going to talk a little bit right now about what's coming up in the week ahead. So by the time this episode is available on Friday, March 31st, Seasons Y and Bordertown will both be up on Netflix. I'm actually kind of looking forward to 13 Reasons Why. I like the cast, and I like the melodrama of the topic, like Riverdale-esque, but like less about, like, I don't know. It's less like about like the will they won't they relationships between characters, and more about the crime.
Right.
So 13 Reasons Why, like if you see the trailer for it, basically a girl commits suicide. The guy that kind of had been pining for her, this box full of like audio cassettes of her basically saying why she killed herself, and it's attributed to like multiple people in this town. Kind of like basically she says, yeah, including him, everybody that she's sending these tapes to like played a part in her death in some way or another. Right. It's all about like dissecting that. So it's very, teenage drama, melodrama kind of thing. I like that when it's not, what derails that for me is like I really liked Riverdale, but then it started getting into the same kind of will they, won't they tropes and stuff with all these characters. And it started getting kind of old for me. This looks like more like a first episode.
Well, there's no will they.
As like a throughout thing.
Dead, right?
He's dead at like the beginning of the series. So it's all about kind of like who's responsible. And it's like a character study. It seems like I haven't seen it, so obviously I can't say what exactly it is.
I watched the trailer. I saw one review that was pretty positive, but said it does have a lot of tropes, a lot of typical teen drama tropes, but said it manages to be good despite the tropes and despite its central gimmick, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, tropes aren't necessarily bad. It's all in how they're used.
Right.
But yeah, I'm gonna check out that series. I'm looking forward to it. Saturday, April 1st, that's April Fool's Day. Attack on Titan Season 2 comes out. Did you ever watch the first season of Attack on Titan?
I have not. I still have yet to really watch Attack on Titan at all.
So this was, even having not watched it, it's like this phenomenon in like anime.
I know all.
Is this huge?
I know all about it. Jesus, I am very much aware of Attack on Titan, what it's about, what the Titans are.
It's almost like a weird merger of like Gundam and like The Walking Dead.
Yes. Yes. It makes me jealous.
It's such a strange combination, but kind of like that, and it's really good. It was years ago, that the first season ran, so it's been a while.
That's kind of actually the perfect description. I like that description.
But yeah, I'm really excited to watch Attack on Titan again. Like easily probably the biggest anime in the last decade, as far as popularity goes and everything. So there's a lot of excitement going in for the season 2 finally here. People have been waiting for literally years. And so here it comes. Then on Sunday, April 2nd, and Home Fries come to PBS, and there's a mini series called The Kennedys After Camelot coming to Reels. On Tuesday, April 4th, iZombie is back. I'm really looking forward to that. The last season had such a cool finale, and what they're leading into looks like it's going to be really interesting. Drake is also coming back after years off the air, even though the main character died at the end of the series. They're like retconning that a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care.
But basically, it's funny because this whole series exists because of Legends of Tomorrow and The Flash, basically.
Pretty much.
Because they brought back the 2 actors from Prison Break as, Captain Cold and Heatwave, in The Flash, and then later in Legends of Tomorrow. Because of that, they started talking about their glory days on Prison Break, and all of a sudden
they're doing Prison Break again.
So I don't know what to think. I think I really liked the first season of Prison Break. Came like a mixed bag after that. Like it would have parts that were good and parts that were just like frustrating and really annoying. Oh, I have a nephew that is obsessed with the series. So every time I hear something new about this series, I'm like, texting him and going, "So what do you think? You getting excited for Prison Break?" Because I know he's like really psyched for it. So, but yeah, that's an interesting one. Did you finish the series?
I never watched a single episode of Prison Break.
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah, this will have nothing for you.
Okay. I saw that. I was like, yeah, all right. I never watched this show.
Also coming back on April 4th is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So we've talked about the show a lot in this podcast.
Yeah.
Excited. It's another one of those plots. They kind of had 3 separate storylines this season, and this is the 3rd storyline.
Yeah, it's weird. I think this is the first time they've ever done 3 separate storylines in a season. I think...
It's been like 1 storyline in a season for them.
I think the first storyline was really good. Ghost Rider, they nailed it. Second storyline, I don't know. I didn't watch those episodes, but probably lame. Third storyline...
It was a mixed bag.
It was a mixed bag? Okay. Third storyline sounds like it's going to be great again.
Third storyline's really interesting, and it's all directly stuff that came from the second storyline.
Right.
Like it was all set up. Basically, the second storyline is all set up for this storyline. So I'm kind of excited to see where it's going to go with it. It's got kind of like an interesting twist. I'm looking forward to it. So 5th, Archer comes back. This time it's going to be on FXX rather than FX. So if you rely on your DVR to tape your shows, you might want to go and check, because it's probably not going to just default and start continuing to tape Archer because before, so now it's on FXX. So make sure you check that if you use a DVR, if you're reliant on that, because otherwise you might miss it. But they're kind of doing something interesting again. For the last couple seasons, they've been really like changing it up. Like they kind of had this spy storyline going, this comedy, and then at a certain point, they basically just ran out of stuff to do with it. So they just started doing different things. So like, well, we're going to do like a Miami Vice, like drug storyline kind of thing. And then after that, they're like, okay, let's do like a detective thing. And now they're doing like kind of like a film noir thing, which I'm not sure how it's going to tie in. Like if it's all going to be like a dream or something, but because it's like a completely different time era. Yeah.
I like how they just decided like Archer can just be anything at this point.
Yeah. So the whole spy agency thing's like gone. It's still in the background, but it's not like happening anymore.
Right.
That's exciting. It's kind of good that it's gone, because the actual name of their spy organization is ISIS. They could turning into something else.
They could still get plenty of mileage from that now, right? So it is a comedy show, so they might as well rip on that.
Also coming back on, or also debuting, I guess, on April 5th is Brockmire, which comes to IFC. This is a series about like a sportscaster, but it's played by Hank Azaria, who most people would know from The Simpsons. He does a bunch of the voices on The Simpsons, including like Apu, and so he's one of the big voice actors on Simpsons. There's like 3 or 4 voice actors that basically do like 20 roles each on The Simpsons, and he's one of them. And so he's got this new show, Sportscast. So that's going to be on IFC. On Thursday, April 6th, there's a series called Idiot Sitter coming back to Comedy Central. And then on April 7th, next Friday, The Get Down is on Netflix. So this is kind of a weird thing because Netflix has always been this business model where they drop the whole season at once. Like in the UK, for example, where they don't have like AMC, Netflix was the home for Breaking Bad. So if you watch Breaking Bad, you watch it on Netflix in the UK to week. Like it didn't dump all the episodes at once. Like they didn't want to wait for the whole season to be out to dump it, but dump it before the American season finished. So they just compromised, and like the day after it aired in the US, the episode would pop up on Netflix. Get Down is a case where they were going to do their regular binge model, but they just couldn't finish in time. Right. Saying like, okay, we can delay this whole thing, or we can just put up half the season and then come back and put up the second half. So this is not season 2 of the Get Down. This is like season 1B. Right. Kind of like a little weird thing with the way Netflix's business model works and how it's kind of changing now as they have more content. But that's it. That's what's coming up in the week ahead. So until next week, you can reach me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can reach Will on Twitter. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, TVEnthusiast.com. Has all those links and everything more. You can subscribe to the podcast through any major podcast client, iTunes, Pocket Casts, whatever. Just look up TV Enthusiast or The Weekly Set and you should find it. The entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel. So if you just go through our subscription thing, you're only going to get like the last 2 or 3 episodes. It's just the space limitations on our audio. YouTube has no such thing. So all of our episodes go up on YouTube too. So if you don't mind like watching it instead of listening, or just using YouTube audio to listen, our entire podcast run is up on YouTube, as well as other stuff like our series on Hannibal or Game of Thrones seasons that we've done, where you can go through episode by episode and you could watch Hannibal along with us. You could watch Hannibal season 3, like watch an episode and then watch our reaction and discussion of it, and then watch the next episode, then watch our reaction and discussion of it. So there's a lot of stuff up on our YouTube channel you can check out. 101 episodes of this podcast. So thank you everybody for listening.
Bye.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more